What is going on, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of the Middle Seats Podcast. Why the middle seats, you ask? Well, we're not in high school anymore, so sitting in the back isn't an option, and we can't sit in the front either, because we're old now, and looking up like that hurts our necks. I'm Toller Talks, the uncensored critic who promotes open discussion, and I'm joined by one of my closest friends on the platform, who's just as much of a dickhead as I am. Generation Offended, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm much more of a dickhead. I want to take that credit right now.
Well, today marks a pretty special episode because we've got our first guest, someone who thinks modern day entertainment sucks just like we do. He's just got a different accent when he talks about it. Loomar, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on. Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
deal.
thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, we've got a few things we're going to be talking about today. We're starting off with the state of the MCU and what the Fantastic Four means to Disney this summer, which is going to neatly bring us along to the opposing side, DC, and the beginning of the new DCU with James Gunn's Superman. We're also going to get a bit into what seems to be the disappointment of 28 years later. I haven't seen it yet, so nothing too spoilerish. We've also had the possibility of a Sinners sequel, and at the end, we're going to share some of our thoughts about Jaws and its 50-year anniversary. Loomar, since you absolutely love the MCU, man, I've watched a lot of your videos. Get us going, dude. How has the slate of films so far been?
Uh, could be significantly better, but yeah, I don't know why it's taking them so long to do certain films. I mean, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that came out 4 years ago, and it's taken them until this year to get him in his own Captain America film. And not only did it take that long, but it went through so many different reshoots, and the script itself just seems to be so incoherently terrible that I've got no idea why they even bothered making it in the end, because it just was not worth it in any conceivable way. Um, and then you've got Thunderbolts, which it had a bold marketing strategy of waiting until the film came out and then just spoiling it and just ruining it for anyone who didn't see it on the opening night. You know, it was a new sort of take on things. They didn't really delve into mental illness that much, and it was okay on that aspect. But once again, it's a modern MCU thing, so it just didn't really click for me. And Fantastic Four. At first, I was quite excited about it when the first trailer dropped. I really liked the aesthetic, this kind of retro futuristic look. But every time a new detail comes out, it just makes me think it's not going to be any good, is it? So at this point, I'm just kind of accepting that nothing Marvel can do at this point is going to disappoint me anymore, because it can't really sink any lower, in my opinion. But I'm sure someone will try in the future.
I totally agree with you. I think that's really well said. It's definitely the Titanic of franchises right now, and it's sinking no matter what happens. I doubt there's going to be any life rafts being handed out anytime soon.
Well, I heard all of that. Are you meaning to tell me, Lumar, that Sam Wilson is not your Captain America? Is that what you're saying right now? But that's blasphemous.
Whoa, whoa. Let me just say,
Racist.
no, it's got nothing to do with that. It's just purely the fact that he has just been a completely fucking horrible character ever since he appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's got nothing to do with race. That's just. But
No,
yeah, in
no,
all
for sure. I
seriousness,
mean,
no, I was so annoyed because I liked Falcon as a guy during the first three phases. I just, he could have had a bit more screen time, but he was a good sidekick. I liked him. He was, funny. He bounced off everyone, but he had a good moral core to him. And yeah, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes along and he's like, yo, this John Walker dude, he's got a title, so I'm gonna hate him. But this Carly chick going around bombing people, I gotta get on her side. And ever since then, it's been fucking weird. I really wanted to like him, and I was kind of optimistic about him as Captain America, and then you know, both instances he's just been shit, and it's really annoying.
Well,
I don't
what's
want to speak for everyone, but I think we're all a bunch of John Walker defenders, aren't we?
well, here's the thing.
Yup.
Here's the thing for me though is that like I'm very much like an actor centric person. Like I will go and watch a film if a specific actor's in it. Like Keanu Reeves, I know he's not that great of an actor. Great dude. I'll go watch anything he's in. But Anthony
Yeah.
Mackie's actually a really good guy. He's a decent actor, but he's a good dude. So I was actually rooting for him in Brave New World. But the writers did him no favors whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean. He seems, I've not really seen a lot of him, outside of the films, but he seems like a kind of straight shooter. Like he'll just be very blunt about things. Like people were complaining about the MCU and catering to the audiences, and he was like, the modern dude is like some guy in China. You just gotta, if they want to cover me for being black or whatever, that's just kind of what's gonna happen. We just gotta get on with it. So yeah, I totally agree. He seems like a decent dude. Just he's kind of taking on one of the biggest mantles the MCU has during one of its worst periods, and yeah, that's weighing on him. But yeah, I think Anthony Mackie seems like a decent guy who's just kind of taking the punches as he goes.
I think the biggest, like one of my biggest gripes with the MCU is actually the Winter Soldier. To me, they should have just given him the shield. They set him up for it, and then Sebastian Stan, I think, even recently said that that was the original plan. That he was told he would become Captain America at one point, and then, I mean, I don't know why they chose to give it to Anthony Mackie, but they did, and now Winter Soldier's character is just nothing. Like I don't feel like he has a real place. Like in the Thunderbolts movie, he kind of just shows up to help the team, but he's not like I thought that they should have given him the team lead of the new because they're the new Avengers or whatever, right? So it would make sense that the Winter Soldier, Captain America's best friend and the most like competent member of the group becomes the leader of the team, but they couldn't even give him that. He's got to be, pushed to the side. He's just kind of there. And I don't really understand why he's taking such a beating because he's like one of the best characters in the entire franchise, in my opinion. He's got the most like interesting backstory. He's a layered character. He's got a cool history. He's edgy, but they just wasted him, of course, because that's what the MCU does.
Well, I think too that we're kind of on the verge of like it's not as blatant anymore that we're in the MCU where they're just thrusting, female superheroes into the limelight and put them at the very front of the film. It's a little more subtle because the leader of Thunderbolts was most certainly, Florence Pugh. I can't remember her fucking character's name. But it was a little more
just Black Widow, whatever.
Yeah, Black Widow Jr., whatever. She was more of the leader. It just wasn't as pronounced because so many people shared screen time with her. But then we've also heard now, as Loomar was saying, the more we're hearing about Fantastic Four, there's the rumor mill spinning that, Sue Storm is going to be, the savior of mankind in this film. And just Christ, man.
Yeah, I heard the rumors. I mean, the female Silver Surfer bit it just looks really bad. I don't like, even just taking the whole gender thing out of it, like it looks like really bad CGI to me. And her, I don't know, the hair and everything just on like a completely silver person looks a little odd.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The special effects, they're very, it's definitely more detailed, but I don't know if that works in like their favor because, in the old Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, the Silver Surfer in that, yeah, the special effects weren't as good, but it helped kind of give it like a certain like weird vibe to it. Can't really describe it. It's like yes, he's silver, but it's kind of like the murky CGI kind of goes well with him as like this alien being. Here in this new Fantastic Four film, The Silver Surfer, it's just a woman who's like silver. That's like just chromed. They just chromed a woman. That's basically it. There's no real otherness. Like there's no weirdness to it except wow, that doesn't look right. It's I don't know. It's a tricky position. And yeah, Sue Storm. I mean, I they'd have to certainly show how she's gonna kind of be the lead. I'm not inherently against it, but like we haven't even seen these characters yet. So if the first thing you're going to show us is Reed Richards getting his iconic position cooked out of him, like, yeah, that's not going to be a great start to the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think like any one of these individual decisions aren't inherently bad, like if Sue Storm's the lead or whatever. But it's because of this like history of abuse from the
Yeah.
creators at Disney to the audience that I think everyone's like because there's a lot of people on both sides still, of course, where there's the defenders of the MCU calling all the people who are getting mad about the movie already a bunch of sexists and all that stuff. And it's not like anyone actually, I mean, I would hope that most people don't actually care about the gender thing so much, but it's more about, like how they've played it in the past and what to expect in the future. And there's no real reason to assume they're going to do anything that differently. I mean, like you said, Tolder, they might be a little bit more smart about it. They might be a bit more subtle, but, the intention is there and how they think is like very much against how the fans want it to be. The same thing that why Anthony Mackie got chosen for Captain America. It wasn't because, he was the right choice. It was because they wanted to, play up the obvious. They wanted a black Captain America. And it was unfortunate for the character because he's great as the Falcon.
right. But the thing about the Fantastic Four, right, is that this film was sold to us as a family film. Like that when that first trailer released, we got that vibe. Just like Loomar, I was actually kind of excited. What was funny is my girl was the one that was like, "Calm down, like you know how Marvel's been recently." And I was like, I'm actually excited because this trailer made it seem like this is going to be about family. This is going to be this unified aspect. And as far as the leader of the Fantastic Four, there's really not one, but it's kind of like de facto, it's Reed. Is not only is he, super
Yeah.
powered, but he's one of the most brilliant characters, not in just Marvel, but in all of comic book history. He's absolutely brilliant. So, kind of taking that, it's not going to be the Fantastic Four. It's just going to be the Fantastic One. It kind of spits in the face of not only the comic book origin, but just how they set us up to begin with.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
it's I mean, to be honest, it's like you've said before, if there wasn't like a clear history of them already doing this sort of thing, then it probably wouldn't be that big of an issue. But another issue I've heard is, uh, you know, I don't know about the rest of yous, but Johnny Storm, I don't know, he's not clicking for me this one so far from what I've seen of him. And apparently, Ben Grimm is just barely he barely has that much of an impact in the film based on like early screenings from what I've heard. So if that's how things are going to go, if you're going to have a Ben Grimm that doesn't really get a lot of time to shine and a Johnny Storm that doesn't click as well as say Chris Evans, then yeah, I don't know. It feels like they had perfect pieces set up that just kind of fumbled again.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I feel like a lot is relying on this movie, because it's like one of these big IPs that they're bringing into the MCU, like it's a big deal to them. But I feel like generally people are so done. Like I don't have any hype for the Fantastic Four movie. I was never a big fan of the comics, so I do have a bias of that. But I just don't feel like a lot of people are talking about it. Besides, like the hardcore like YouTubers who it's like us who want to review this stuff. But it's more out of obligation, not like, oh, I want to go see it.
Like I said, I'm a very actress centric person, and so kind of going back to what Lumar was talking about, Johnny Storm. I love Joseph Quinn. He got his big break in Stranger Things as Eddie, and my favorite film, so far this year, Warfare. Joseph Quinn was also in it, so I was kind of excited. I was like, wow, this guy's like, an MCU film. We all know they've been on the on the downslope per se, but that's still a big name film. So I was really excited to see him cast and see what he can do. But then I heard some of the comments and how he talked about how Johnny Storm in this film isn't he is like a playboy. He isn't all about women. He's not as misogynistic. And I'm like, shit. Like that was a huge part of his character in the comics is that he was just this massive playboy, this ladies man. I'm like, what the hell are you gonna have him doing then?
Honestly, you're lucky if he's not gay.
Yeah, they
I
definitely
really,
seem to
I
be
mean, on
going
your,
for. Sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, totally. Like, I'm a big actor guy as well, and the guy who plays the Thing, Eben Moss Backrack, I can't pronounce his last
Yeah,
name.
it's a
It's a
weird
little
name.
weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, like he's great. He's great in The Bear. He did a fantastic job in that show, and he was in Andor as well for a little bit, and he did a great job. Like
He was in
he
Punisher as
always stands
well.
out. Was he? Okay. Oh
Yeah, he
right,
played.
yeah, he's the
He
fucking
was
he's behind the
Micro. Yeah.
desk.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I forgot about. Oh man, it's been a while since I watched The Punisher. Wow. Yeah, that's funny. You go ahead now. I sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say in terms of like Johnny Storm and his like characterization. I mean, yeah, obviously we've seen plenty of different adaptations of him in the comics, but generally, yeah, he is, a hothead. He's the Human Torch, and it's only later on that he like matures and he becomes more open with his feelings and stuff. So if, it seems like they're just kind of at that point with him in this film, which like I don't know what character development he could go on if he's already this more laid back, emotional, I care more about family than pursuing hot chicks kind of thing. Like I don't know what they can do with him really if he's already reached the end of his character arc. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to be doing with these characters, and it's very unnerving to see how they might have fucked this up so badly already.
We're sitting there talking
Yeah,
about,
I'm predicting. Uh,
no, go ahead, defend it.
I, I I'm predicting that it's just going to be a flop. Like it's either going to come out guns blazing, people are going to hate it, or it's going to like fade into mist like Thunderbolts did. But I don't have a lot of high hopes. I think it's going to be a bit of a crash and burn.
Yeah, and we're sitting there talking about, the actors. We're like, oh, yeah, I said, I like Joseph Quinn in this thing. And then you said, oh, Ebon Moss Backrack, I loved him in this, and this. Well, we've got Pedro Pascal, who we be sitting here for a fucking hour talking about all the things he's been in for just the last 2 months alone. Holy crap, man, this guy's in
Yeah,
everything.
no.
But he's just he was not the right choice for Reed Richards. He wasn't. And I'm offended because they already had a really good Reed Richards, in my opinion. John Krasinski. I thought he was
Yeah.
great as the character. But what do you guys think about Pedro Pascal picking up that mantle?
No, I don't think it's gonna get. I don't know. It's not. It's a terrible idea. He's just in so much. Like I think I'm kind of tired of seeing him and stuff. I mean, geez, he is a good actor. I don't think anyone can deny that. But he's not like this everyman that I think Hollywood's trying to make him be. Like he was an okay Joel in The Last of Us. He wasn't Joel, but he was still the best part of that show. Not that it's difficult, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm tired of seeing him and stuff. I don't think he's a good Reed Richards. I agree.
Yeah, he's definitely they're definitely doing that whole Dwayne Johnson thing where it doesn't matter what role, what it's supposed to be, they just cast, you know, I feel like 10 years ago everyone just started casting Dwayne Johnson and everything, and it doesn't matter whether he's supposed to be some sort of businessman working in like a skyscraper or just some everyday dad, like he's just an action dude and it gets kind of bland. And yeah, Pedro Pascal, I mean, he's a good actor, but I don't know, I just kind of view him as, more like a kind of, you know, goofy kind of middle-aged man instead of like all these serious roles that he keeps getting given. And yeah, Last of Us, I thought he did a decent job in, what he was given for that, but I don't know, I just don't really see him as like Reed Richards, the one of the smartest men in Marvel comic history. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah. He just doesn't look like this like nerdy, like super intellectual dude. I don't think he has that vibe. They
no,
could
he's
have
just
picked like a lot
he's
more. Like there's so many nerdy guys in Hollywood to pick from.
yeah, he's just got like a kind of suave sort of style to him. It's not really. it's not really how I imagine Reed Richards. And again, there's different portrayals. He might do a good job, but as it stands, his casting isn't really a big favor for the film for me.
Yeah, I feel like Pascal, like he's got a lot of talent. I mean, I will get into Joel and The Last of Us. I've been beating a dead horse at that point. But I think Pascal's got enough talent that he could have, if he just would calm down and make certain selections, certain productions. He could kind of be like that modern day, say like Ray Fiennes. Where he elevates any film that he's in. He's obviously the focus point because he's that kind of caliber of actor, or at least he could be if he honed his craft a little bit more. But he's, like you said, he's kind of sifting into that rock status, that Chris Pratt status, where it's like, holy shit, like Pascal fatigue is a real fucking thing. I just watched a film last week with him in it, The Materialist. And I'm like, what is he fucking doing in this thing?
Well, I think that he belongs in more of like that romantic fling movie, right? Like the guy who, he looks like kind of like that rich billionaire from 50 Shades of Grey film or something. He doesn't look like this nerd. Yeah, go ahead saying it again, but not the nerdy intellectual guy that Reed Richards is.
Yeah, I like Pedro Pascal in more kind of emotional sort of roles. As bad as that film was in Wonder Woman 1984, like I really liked him as Maxwell Lord. I thought he did a terrific job of the material he was given, and it was not, he was probably is the only character I enjoyed in that film. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to kind of more serious, more action-centered roles, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting a bit bored of him as well at this point. Like you say, he's in everything at the moment, and it's just actor fatigue, isn't it? So yeah, not kind of not interested in him.
Well, let's move
Yeah,
along to.
I think that one of actually his. Sorry, one last thing. What was the? I think we're having a bit of a layover here because we're done. But I think one of my favorite roles that he did recently was the unbearable weight of massive talent with Nick Cage. Honestly, like their
Yeah.
duo in that film was great. He really did a good job in the comedic level, which was nice to see because that was so different from things that he's been doing. And he was like this really funny, like dorky fan of Nick Cage, and he did a really good job at it.
And the memes were
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
definitely.
the memes were great.
Well, it was Newton himself that talked about how for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And when it comes down to the MCU, the opposite and equal, at least I hope equal, maybe we can eventually get to equal reaction, is the DCU. And we've also got Superman, which is going to be coming out, 2.5, 3 weeks before Fantastic Four? What are you guys, let's start with Loomar here. What are you thinking as far as Superman? Things we've seen so far. You hyped, you not? What's up?
Well, I mean, I think even when he's not as good as, previous works that he's done, I think James Gunn just really knows how to make an entertaining film. So even if, for me, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and I loved The Suicide Squad. They're so entertaining for me. So even if he doesn't reach those heights, even if he reaches something a bit lower, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I still think this is going to be a terrific film. I'm really looking forward to it. I think he's someone who definitely cares about crafting this world and making sure that everything makes sense. When you've seen all of his interviews and things, he's talking about how, oh, I had to scrap this film that we were going to start making because the script wasn't finished, and I'm not going to just have things improvised as we go along. So I think if that's the attitude that he's brought into Superman, and that he's gonna have like jumping off points from this film to like others, I think that this is going to be a terrific start to the DC universe. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to everything because it seems like he's very much embracing the comic book roots from it. And yeah, so far everything that I've seen from the trailers and the casting choices and the music, yeah, I'm very looking forward to it.
I think that's a good summary of what it feels like. I think my question is superhero fatigue becoming a real thing? Like everything you said is true. It looks like it's more comic book accurate. It's very colorful. It looks like fun. I feel like it gets the vibe of Superman across. But are people like tired of fucking superhero movies at this point? Is that going to be the fucking dagger in the heart of this new franchise? Because like, we're rebooting Superman again. Like it's been a lot of Superman reboots in the last decade or so. And I feel like it might have an impact on these movies, regardless of how good they are almost. I feel like people might be a little tired of it. I don't know, because for me, I'm getting a little, like the fucking superhero genre has been, constructed, deconstructed, redone, and then, multiple dimensions and all that bullshit. Like, I don't know if I'm like ready to strap in for yet another cinematic universe.
I think it has everything to do with bad writing fatigue and nothing to do with superhero fatigue. Like Loomar just said that, as long as the film is entertaining, and I'm of the same mind. I can watch a truly crappy film, a film that the story doesn't make sense, that there's just fucking conveniences, it's contrived, it's all over the fucking place. But as long as it's entertaining, at least there's going to be some value there. And I think that people are still wanting to see good entertainment, something that when you go to the theater, it's just fun to watch. It could be horror, it could be action, it could be superhero. It doesn't really matter. I think I think superhero fatigue is a little bit behind it. I think we are stretching the genre out quite a bit, but I think most of it is just people are tired of films just being they're just not fun. They're just stupid and they don't make any sense. And it's like why are we even here? Like why is this happening? I think Superman, the July one, can fix that. I think if James Gunn, like Lumar said, just pulls out all the stops, he cares for the source material. He's just there to make a quirky, fun, entertaining movie. I think people will be all about it. If that's what it ends up being, it may not, but still.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. The Suicide Squad was a great, I think, example of what he can do with a movie. It is a good film. I mean, it's definitely not perfect. Like there's a lot of flaws with it. I think the whole Harley Quinn arc in that film could have been like ripped right out of
Yeah,
the story and it
yeah.
would have been better for it. But like, it was colorful, it was fun. It definitely had that different style to it. It felt like something I could get invested in. And I actually like the Peacemaker TV show as well. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's speaking of the Peacemaker TV show, I will say that's one point of contention that I'm not sure how they're gonna fix because obviously Peacemaker season one that came out during the DCEU, and now season two is coming out in the DCU, and it's canon to the new stuff, but it's also got things from the older films that was canon to the DCEU. So, uh, yeah, that one, it's yeah, I don't know how he's going to solve that. I really hope that he has solved that, but I think Peacemaker season two might be a point of contention. But that's got nothing to do with Superman, anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see when Superman comes out, as that's the first proper installment of this new universe. That's going to give us some sort of idea of what we can expect in the next few years.
Well, talking about points of
With
contention,
the
let's talk about Superman himself, David Cornsweat. How we feeling about him? Like, dude, does
the
he
funny last thing.
is he man enough to fucking to do it or what?
I mean, he's, when you put side by side comparisons between him and, Henry Cavill in the suit, I totally get why people are saying that, he doesn't look as
Don't make
good,
me cry.
he doesn't look as statuesque. Um, but you know what? Based on the trailers, I think he's nailing it. He's managed to get that kind of jittery hair all over, kind of sweaty Clark Kent disguise down, and then you've got the more heroic, confident kind of Superman. And yeah, I mean, obviously his suit, it doesn't look like it, but when you look at the behind the scenes and stuff, he got fucking shredded for this movie. Like he's got so much muscle on him. So yeah, I think that as long as you can still see the physicality of him. I think he's going to do a good job as Superman and as Clark Kent. And yeah, I think it's been a good choice for him.
I think with There was one scene that plays in the trailer that kind of I don't know. It like it's he's arguing with Lois Lane there. You know, she's like interviewing him as Superman, and it gets obviously pretty contentious, and she starts like asking him hard questions, and he starts getting like really panicked. I don't know how I feel about that. He kind of comes across a little bit whiny. I don't know if that's just like kind of taken out of context and it's not like the best scene or whatever. I'm not like judging the whole movie based off of it, but it wasn't like I don't know. He definitely didn't have that like toughness that Henry Cavill had. Of course, it's not a Zack Snyder movie, so he's not like gonna say like three words throughout the film. But um, I don't know. I just kind of felt a little bit like, maybe that shouldn't have been like the trailer introduction to the character because he has like a lot of dialogue in it.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard similar kind of worries about it, but I think it's going to be a solid scene. Based on the context that we can see, Lois is just trying to take him through the rounds of what it's like to be questioned remorselessly by reporters about, things that he might have the simple answer of, it was the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it. But really, there's all this political issues and laws and things like that that people use against him. And yeah, I don't know. Based on the context, it seems like this is a Superman that's just flabbergasted by the idea that he would do this stuff purely because it's the good thing to do, and he doesn't understand why people care more about laws and regulations over doing that. But yeah, I get that people might think he comes across as whiny in that, but I don't know. Like you say, I think we need to actually just see the scene and see how it plays out properly. But I don't think it's too bad of a scene just from the looks of things.
Yeah, I'm walking into the film with
Yeah,
with a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth because I am not a Snyderverse guy. I didn't agree with what a lot of Zack Snyder did, but I am very much a Henry Cavill guy. And, I don't think he was like the picture perfect Superman, but he is the king of the nerds. He knows the source material, he knows the
Mhm.
characters. He is very much involved in the production. And regardless of which way you look at it, if you like the Snyderverse, if you didn't, DC did him wrong. They did him wrong. He stepped away from The Witcher again because of the King of the Nerds thing. He disagreed with the way the show was going. It wasn't following the source material, and a big part of that was that he was coming back as Superman. With the Black Adam film, and then they went psych and just told him to fuck off somewhere. And it's like, come on, man. Like, I know he's not the greatest actor, okay, but when it comes down to the source material and knowing comic books and knowing video games, the guy does his homework. He knows what he's doing, and just how they treated him. So I'm walking into that new Superman film with a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
He might be the most unlucky actor in Hollywood, in my opinion. He's just picked so many roles that have gone into the shitter for no, like and not his fault at all. But like The Witcher, Superman. I think there's a few more. I'm The Man from Uncle. Like none of these things got really taken off, and it's not due to him. But yeah, it's unfortunate because he is cool. I think he's good in the roles he plays. Apparently, he's going to be in the new Warhammer show or
Oh, I
movie or whatever
can't
they're making.
wait. He loves Warhammer, so I can't
Yeah,
wait to
no.
see what he does.
Yeah, I'm really glad that that's finally getting started because didn't he join the Warhammer people like 5 years ago or something? And it's
Yeah, it's
just
been a
taken
while.
so long for him to have his, like creative juices put onto the big screen. I think that's mental, but I'm glad he's finally getting to show us what he's been working on. And yeah, I mean that dude. Yeah, I agree that he's so nerdy, and it's very unfortunate how he was treated during his tenure as Superman. And I do agree that he is probably one of the most unlucky actors that's been in Hollywood recently. Um, but again, I don't. The whole job of an actor is to act, and even if David Cornsweet doesn't have the knowledge of every like as much knowledge as Henry, I as long as he can do read the script and perform everything flawlessly, I still think we're going to get a terrific Superman. And yeah, I don't know. I'm optimistic about this one. Of all the superhero stuff that's come out over the past few years, this one is the one that, yeah, I would hinge my bets on it.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, fair.
I particularly, which I love Nathan Fillion, as Guy Gardner. I don't care about the bowl
Yeah.
cut, man. He looks great. But I'm particularly surprised because or surprised, but I'm excited about is I'm a huge House of Cards fan. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, she got her start in House of Cards. Her big break was in House of Cards as the character of Rachel, and so seeing her picked as Lois Lane, I'm actually really excited to see what she does. I don't know if she quite has the look. I kind of liked Amy Adams a little bit better. But as far as acting goes, I think she's going to nail it. Everything we've seen so far, behind the scenes trailers and all that, I'm excited to see how, that dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah, that's fair. Amy Adams did a good job. I mean, this I can't remember the actress's name, but she looks a lot more comic accurate to Lois Lane, I think, which people are happy about. My big question is, what do you guys think of Lex Luthor? I can't remember the guy's name there. He plays Beast in the MCU, but
yeah, Nicholas Hoult, yeah,
Nicholas Hoult, yeah, in X-Men. Sorry, not MCU, but I think he looks like a pretty good villain. I'm confident in his sinister appearance. He definitely has this murderous Lex Luthor vibe that is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's definitely got a vibe that says, I just fucking hate this dude. I need him gone. And that's the most you can ask for a Lex Luthor, I think. Besides one that doesn't randomly giggle and put Jolly Ranchers into people's mouths. But
hey, I like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Okay, there's some negatives, but I liked him.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, that's a controversial opinion if I've heard one.
well, it's just I'll say it here real quickly. Yeah, there was some writing issues obviously in there. The Jolly Rancher thing was a little stupid, but when it comes down to like that maniacal side, that evil, that unhinged, like just absolutely tore off from reality Lex Luthor that's been getting his ass beat by Superman, for years. Eisenberg did it. He got that that maniacal evil side down. Now, he wasn't charismatic in any sense, form, or fashion of the word. And some of the things that Snyder had him doing, which like the Jolly Rancher thing, was really stupid. But that's more of a writing issue as opposed to an act. It's the same thing with Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck was a fantastic Batman, probably one of the more comic accurate Batmans we've ever gotten. But the writing just failed him, having him doing stuff that he never would have done. And, obviously with Zack Snyder's traditional style. So, yeah, no, I didn't mind Jesse Eisenberg. I really liked him. But I'm open to Nicholas Hoult. I think as far as star power goes, as far as acting goes, Holt's the best person in this film, easily.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, recently I just watched The Menu for the first time. And obviously I'm used to, whenever I think of him, I always think of Beast, So this smart, caring, kind guy who just wants to make the world a better place. And then I watch The Menu, and he's this kind of backstabbing, double-faced fucking asshole who thinks he's a culinary expert, and really he's got no idea what he's got, talking about. So yeah, honestly, he was fucking terrific in that. I think he's done a lot of terrific work, and yeah, him as Lex Luthor, it seems like he's putting his all into that performance, and I look forward to seeing. I think probably is the most important thing that needs to get nailed: the chemistry between all of them. Because like you say, I thought Amy Adams was a good Lois Lane. I thought Henry Cavill was, he was given his try as Superman. I just didn't think they had much chemistry together, and I just hope all the chemistry in this film is going to be fantastic, because if it's good performances but they're not bouncing off each other, it's going to be disappointing.
I think if anything, James Gunn has that chemistry appeal. He knows how to make actors work together. He knows how to do the, comedic to sensitive dynamic really well. He did Guardians of the Galaxy super well. Suicide Squad, for all its faults, definitely had a lot of chemistry between the actors and the cast. I think that's almost a given, unless he's having a bad day or something, and all of a sudden James Gunn forgets all of his previous work and shit. But yeah, I'm confident in that in the film.
Yeah, I'm trying to take a look here. Yeah, that's right. Isabella Merced is going to be Hawk Girl. God, that's going to That's going to be interesting. There is a lot. I'm just looking at the cast, like the cast list here. There is so much going on. You know, not only do we have Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Green Lantern, Hot Girl, Supergirl.
Here's the DCEU. We're bringing it back.
Well, based on what I've heard, it's in this universe, superhumans and superheroes and stuff, they've been around in public knowledge for, I think it was 300 years or something like that. So yeah, it could be a bit messy with all of the characters that are going to be in it. But again, I think it's just down to how you balance it out. As long as it's a Superman story that's being propped up, it's a Superman story at its core with these little other world building branches coming off it. That's the important thing. I don't want to see like in Batman v Superman where it just stops and then we get a fucking 5 minute PowerPoint presentation where we see the Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg on fucking Wonder Woman's computer that they stole from Lex Luthor or whatever, because Lex Luthor, he's really giving them their own brands and shit like that.
That's something I was going to ask you about, because with this being the first, film in the greater DCU, hopefully they don't spend too much time trying to set up the whole universe and setting up for future films. Because I think Marvel did it perfectly, with that Iron Man film where at the very end he runs into Sam Jackson. For the life of me, I can't remember his fucking character's name, eye patch guy. And he talks
Nick
about
Nick Fury.
Yeah, Nick Fury. There we go. But let's be honest, it's just Sam Jackson. He does his thing in every film. So, but he just shows up and is like, "Hey, we're assembling a team," and then boom, that leads into the next film. It leads into the whole team up thing. How do you guys feel about, like, do you think that James Gunn is going to try to set up a lot of the universe in this film since there's so many characters, or do you think he's going to take his time?
Oh, 100%. He's definitely setting up the whole universe. He just listed off so many fucking characters. They're definitely trying to establish a universe in one movie, and I think that might be the biggest issue with it. Is I heard that there was a lot of characters coming into it. I didn't realize there's so many as you mentioned, but I don't know. It depends on how well he blends it all together, because like with the MCU, like you said, it took but it was like an Iron Man movie, and then they did a Thor movie, and then they did, they did all the characters had their own films. So DC has a bit of a history with trying to put too much into one film. I mean, Batman versus Superman. Oh, my microphone fell off my table.
Oh no.
Batman versus Superman, like that, try to fit so much into the DC universe because they're trying to catch up to Marvel. So I think the worst thing that DC could do right now is try to do that again, and they should just try to make their own thing, take their time, build the building blocks. Like, I would prefer, I love Batman, but I don't want to hear about Batman in this movie. Like, if there's like a fucking Bruce Wayne cameo or something, or they're like, at the end of the film, like, fucking Superman sitting on top of a building and they give him Batman's card and it's like, you should call this guy. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list here. So let me just tell you who's all in this. So we've got Superman, we've got Lois Lane. This is all IMDb, so this is not like spoilers or anything like that. It's all cast. It's right there in front of everybody. You have Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, Supergirl, Engineer, Metamorpho, Maxwell Lord, and Mr. Terrific. That is
Supergirl's
a lot.
In this movie too?
Yeah, apparently Millie Alcock has been credited with Supergirl on IMDb in this film. So, and then what's really funny was when you think about James Gunn, you think about his brother Sean, and you're like, how the fuck are they gonna incorporate him into the film? He's Maxwell Lord in Superman. So
okay. Yeah, I hope he dies right away. I think that'd be kind of funny.
Yes, there's a lot going on here, and I don't know. I didn't know about all this. I've been kind of, I'll say, blind on the Superman thing, but I've tried to stay away from a lot of it because, like I said, I still have a bad taste in my mouth, and I kind of want to judge this film on its own merits. But there's just a lot going on in here, and I wonder how they're going to.
Yeah, it sounds like too much. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to be positive because I would like to see a good start to this universe, but that sounds like way too much to me. Unless these guys are all getting like cameos or something, or they play like necessary parts in the role. I just hope they're not just fisting it into the script.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, as long as the core is a Superman story, I don't mind having this other stuff going around it, especially if as long as they're not as long as we don't waste time having to go into the backstories of all these other heroes and they get fleshed out in other appearances, kind of like what the MCU did with Black Widow and Hawkeye. If they just show up and then in later appearances we learn more and more about them, uh, yeah, I think I don't necessarily that means it's going to be bad for the DCU to kick off a Superman film with all these other heroes in it. Just as long as Guy Gardner he shows up, he antagonizes Superman a bit. Obviously, they'll probably join forces at the end or whatever, and then maybe later on in the Lanterns film that they're currently in production of, then we find out a bit more about Guy Gardner and things like that. As long as they're not cramming all of his history into this film, and all of Hawkgirl's history and Maxwell Lord's history, as long as they're not doing that, I think the film should be able to tell the story it needs to tell and be paced good. Uh, and I don't know. I think James Gunn would. I think he can pull it off.
We have talked about Superman for a while, but I've been anxious to hear kind of a non-spoiler review of this 28 Days Later movie. Now, me and Toller know that you, Loomer, have done a video on it like today, I think it came out, and you said it was a disappointment. Now, is it a disappointment of a film, or is it simply a disappointment because it wasn't scary enough?
Um.
Well, this is not a good sign.
Uh.
Dot
I
dot dot.
mean,
Uh-oh.
the opening scene, it'll definitely get you hooked. Um. And then after that, there's like a time skip, and it doesn't waste time trying to show you every little bit of history that you've missed. It just kind of shows you what's going on and how these people are handling it. It gets I don't know, it gets a bit bizarre, especially when you compare, how the infection works and kind of the geopolitical situation. When you look at things from the past films, comparing it to this one, it's yeah, it's it doesn't live up to the hype for me, unfortunately. I'd say this is probably one of the most disappointing films I've watched.
Oh, fuck you. Damn it.
Whoa, no.
Okay, well,
No,
let me
really?
ask you this
Yeah.
then. This, like I said at the very beginning of this conversation, I'm very actor centric. Okay, and I don't know what's in the water over there in the UK across the pond, but you motherfuckers have some of my favorite actors. Ray Fiennes does he have a does he have a bigger part in 28 Years Later? And what did you think of him? Like, give me some hope.
So he
Hope now.
so he's I would say he's got a decent and significant chunk of the film devoted to him. He's definitely not got the most screen time, but he's got a large focus, and I would say he's probably is like probably is like my favorite character in it. I
Okay,
I
good.
think it's a really I think yeah he plays a really solid character, and I really like what they did with him in terms of what you think his motivations are. And yeah, he was probably the best part of the film for me. And what they did with
Good,
him
good.
and kind of how the main characters bounce off him. So yeah, you're not going to be disappointed with him. And in like you said, you saw a lot of actors in this that you're a fan of. I'm going to say it. I enjoyed all of the actors. They have really put in the work for it. And in terms of production, the film is really well kind of crafted. Just there's a few things that haven't been crafted as well, and the writing is it's not for me. I'll put it like that. But yeah,
So
maybe
Toller and I were talking about this before you jumped on the call, but Toller said that he's heard that it's a critics film. I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
So does
yeah.
that mean like, do you think it's going to be a divisive film going forward, or do you think there's like a definite like people are not going to like it, or they are going to like it, and you're just one of the few?
So for me, the 28 Days Later franchise, it's mostly been a franchise that focuses on kind of fear and despair of the situation with little bits of hope and humor scattered throughout. That's, kind of how I've always seen the franchise. This film is a coming of age story with humor with humor and horror sprinkled through it. It's it didn't really feel like a horror film to me. It's definitely got elements of it there, and you might think it is going to be a horror film based on the opening scene, but it quickly just that fades into the background. It focuses on kind of family drama and medical issues and a boy becoming a man kind of thing. It focuses more on that than the horror, the infected, the despair of the world, and yeah, it's and then all of that gets put in the bin at the end because again, I'm not spoiling it, but it is one of the weirdest endings to a film I've ever fucking seen. Like, there are films that end and you're like, oh, so they're setting up a sequel. And then there are films that end on a scene that you think should have been in the other film, and it feels like they just cut it in half and stopped the film. That is what this film's ending feels like.
No.
It's some characters appear, they're setting up an introductory scene, and then it just kind of stops and surprise, you've got to wait another 6 months till January for the sequel to come out.
Okay.
And yeah. So
So
if you watch the trailers and thought, wow, this looks intense, this looks horrifying, this looks terrifying, I can't see how scared I'm going to be based on these trailers. You were deceived. I'll just say that.
well, 28 Days
Oh
Later
no, damn.
was never that for me. I'm a big horror guy. That's probably my favorite genre of film. For 28 Days Later was not that for me. It wasn't a, oh my god, this is so scary. The infected, I guess you could say, were more of the background. It was more about the human struggle and how people were adapting in this world that was, no longer what it used to be. So I don't know if I'm gonna be disappointed from that standpoint. I wasn't expecting walking in to see infected running around everywhere in blood and gore and all that. I suspect it'll play it's a somewhat big part in 28 years later, but I wouldn't expect it to be the focus. But I don't know.
Uh,
That's just the thing is I hate what you just said. You said this
well,
is
speaking of that, even if like you say, the infected, they're terrifying when they're on screen, and but they're not the main thing in 28 Days Later. Like you say, there's the nature of humanity and what people will become during these sort of times. But even when it's not focusing on the infected, it's still horrifying. When when they all reach the mansion and they think they found salvation, only for it to turn out that Jim is, he's in a powerless position and the girls are going to get used. That's still like horrifying. That's
yeah.
still like a terrifying, fearful thing. And it's only when Jim manages to escape that you get a bit of hope that things will get better. In this film, the infected, the even when they're on screen, they're not as horrifying as they were in the original. And in terms of like a human fearfulness, there's nothing really antagonistic throughout the film that's going to give you the same thing that the soldiers at the end of 28 Days Later give off.
Damn it.
It's like I say, if I had to describe what kind of film this is. It's a coming of age story, basically. It's a family drama story. It's less on violence and horror and infection and people questioning morality and God and things like that. And it's more just about a kid who wants his family to be, better. And yeah, it's like I say, it's emotional. It's very emotional, but it's just not what I expected from this film.
Well, I think that's really disappointing because like I think the infected and 28 Days Later to me have always been the scariest of all like zombie inceptions.
Yep, very grounded.
Because like yeah, it's very grounded. The rules are really established. Like I think you see this a lot with zombie movies and shows, and like The Walking Dead, for example. Like when someone gets bitten, there's no real rules on how long it takes to get infected or like how long it takes for them to die and all this stuff, right? It gives the writers a lot of room to kill the person off when they want to and all this stuff. But with 28 days, you have this like really rigid rule set where there's like, if you get bit, it's like it's over. Or you get scratched or you get blood in your eye or something like that, like it's done. And it makes the zombies really scary because like if they touch you, pretty much you're fucked. Like it's a really it really raises the stakes when they're around. So to hear that they've been kind of reduced is disappointing because yeah, I was excited to see them back on the screen.
Yeah, and that last thing you said there, Loomar, it's just when you said the ending, and and here's the thing, as critics, we try to walk into things unbiased, and I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm not walking into the Bone Temple, which is supposed to release on January 16th of next year. I'm not walking in unbiased, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Nia DaCosta is directing the sequel, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
the very close sequel to 28 Years Later. And if that name sounds familiar, that's because it is. She was the director of The Marvels. So, not a lot of high hope for the sequel to this thing.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's a rough one.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be really funny. It'd be really funny if she ended up making a better film than this one, but yeah, that's disappointing.
at the very least, Killian Murphy is going to be in the Bone Temple. I see him listed as a character in there. So, I don't know, man. God, I hate hearing that. This is actually one of my most anticipated films of the year because I'm a big horror guy. And
yeah,
if it's
fucking tell me about it.
so, and I mean, I like everybody that's in it. Aaron Taylor Johnson, what is it, Jodie Comer, Ray Fiennes, which is bullshit. Does this production just hate Americans because all three of those people are English? So y'all need to just, I don't know, take whatever you have in the water out of it, please. Over there, you've got a lot of great actors.
Well, it's in England, isn't it?
I don't know where it takes place. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay. I think it's
yeah, it's still England. It's still it's basically seeing how England has evolved 28 years after the infection ravaged the UK. So it's kind of futuristic medieval kind of vibe to it, which is one of the world
okay.
building aspects that I enjoyed. Um, and yeah, that aspect of it, the kind of look to it, the look of these new communities and things, that is really nailed down. I'll give it that.
Okay, that's good to hear because I really like the idea of that. I think The Last of Us kind of wastes it in their series. Because like yeah, you would kind of return to this more feudal styled society, not maybe not in, like terms of culture or how the government's run, but like in the terms of like how the buildings would look. You would have huge walls around your settlements, and you'd probably like honestly start wearing armor and stuff. I don't know why most zombie shows don't really have that. Like you would definitely be wearing. I mean, chainmail would be a great choice against a zombie, but I mean the Walking Dead did it to a degree with the Kingdom faction. I mean, they just wear like hockey pads and stuff, which is kind of silly, but
Yeah,
But
running
it's
around with
nice to hear that
tigers.
they're at least doing that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue on my trying to install hope with this film because you put me in the fucking dirt, Loomar. Thanks to that, you dick. Um,
Hey, you ask for an honest opinion, you're gonna get an honest opinion. So,
so you sound like you're a pretty decent horror guy as well, and so in the horror genre, there's one thing we hold above everything else, and that's the effects. We hate CGI effects, horror fans do, but we love practical. Are there some really good practical effects in 28 years later?
um,
Like practically built sets, makeup, stuff like that,
yeah.
or is
I
this
mean,
like CGI spectacle?
now that I'm thinking about it, there's possibly a few shots when it comes to kind of them using bows and arrows on the infected that because of how they've shot it, like it doesn't cut away, so parts of that are CGI, but it's not like really bad blood or anything. And besides that, I don't actually think there's like much else CGI that I could remember. I think most of it is practical.
Oh, great.
And yeah, visually, like I say, from a production standpoint, whether it's the music, the the actors, the outfits, the designs, the landscaping shots, the villages, all of this stuff, it looks terrific. You can tell that they've put a lot of effort into making this feel like an actual world that could be lived in. Um, yeah, it's a very very good film that focuses a lot on like practicality and things like that. So from that aspect, you won't be disappointed. I think you'll enjoy that.
Good deal. Good deal. Offended, do you have anything you wanna say on 28 years later before I rock on into something that you're gonna love talking about?
I think I'm good. I think Limer did a good overview. I think anything else would kind of get into spoiler territory, which we are trying to avoid. Yeah, no, I think we're good to move on.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we're going to talk about one of your favorite films this year, and I guess a little birdie has been floating around. There may be a sequel to it, Sinners. You said you wanted to talk about the possibility of a sequel. So you know what? Take it away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, so I think it would be good to talk about because it's actually the only thing I think the three of us have all covered. But yeah, so Sinners is apparently maybe getting a sequel without Ryan Coogler. So there's a lot of discussion being had, right? Because it was a real box office success. I think it got like 270 million. I can't remember what the budget was, but it was definitely a big hit. So of course Warner Bros wants to take it and run with it, make a big cinematic universe, do werewolves or something. So they are apparently going to move on without Coogler is the rumor right now because he doesn't want to do a sequel. How do you guys feel about a sequel to the film, but also a sequel without the director?
Go ahead, Lumar.
Um, I don't know. I think it probably is. Uh, I don't know. It's very interesting because see the thing about Ryan Coogler, I think he can direct decently. I just don't think his writing's great. So if they got a really good writer to make the sequel and they managed to get a really good director, it could probably be a very very good film. But I think this is kind of falling into the thing where they're going to try and milk it, and because of that, they just want to get something out as quickly as possible. So when it comes to a sequel to it, I don't think that would be very good. I don't think they'd put enough time or effort into kind of elevating it. And yeah, I would not watch it after seeing seeing the first one. So yeah.
Well, as far
Yeah,
as
that's fair.
this,
I mean, I think we were all like disappointed with it to some degree. What were your general feelings about the film? Because I haven't seen your video on it, but
So I think like the sets are really good, costume design's really good. Michael B. Jordan doing both portrayals, terrific. It was really nice. I think the idea of the music and the spirituality aspect, I like that in concept. Where it falls short for me is uh, I don't think he can do action scenes and kind of intense sort of thriller scenes. There's that part near the end where the Asian lady says, come in, I'm gonna kill you, and obviously now they can get in and they bust through the door, and there's only like five, six, seven of them, and there's 30 vampires. Yet for some reason, the vampires go in one by one, and the rest just stand outside until some of them get defeated, and then more come in. So you've got this really kind of Looney Tunes esque thing where they're kind of tripping over each other trying to fight the vampires, and the other vampires are just kind of awkwardly stood in the background, just not doing anything. The ending, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. How can the brother be making deals and kind of following his own independence when the whole point of vampirism is they become kind of like a hive mind who follows the Irish guy's wills? Um, yeah, and just I don't know, it it's like a six maybe is for me. I don't get the hype. I do not get the hype around it. It's it was an entertaining watch on the first watch, but it's not something I would like be eager to rewatch anytime soon. I don't know.
Yeah, piggybacking off what you said there with the whole, which Offended and I had a very long discussion about this, but yeah, you talked about how the vampires just kind of go in, one after the other, and as horror veterans, and it seems like you're one as well. When they go back to that traditional vampire feel, which they very much did, as far as their weaknesses and having to be invited in, obviously the sunlight being their biggest enemy. It was really weird. It was jarring to see the differences there because that type of vampire, that traditional vampire, is actually very animalistic, very force of nature. So when when they open up the barn doors because the Asian lady can't keep her fucking mouth shut, you would expect that force of nature, that animalistic vampire, to do like what you said. All 30 of them just bull rush in there like the predators that they are, instead of doing this like calculated video game. Here's wave one, here's wave two, here's wave three nonsense that they did, and it was from a lore aspect. People that know about vampires, it was very conflicting in how they went about things.
It seemed like they were more like zombies than anything else. Like, did they forget that they have super strength and can fly and have super speed? Like they all have these like crazy powers until they don't. And like you said, Liver, with the whole like them coming in one by one, like yeah, they just don't act on the fact that they have these fucking great, like they would be able to pick these people up and throw them, and like there's seven of them and there's like 20 guys outside and they can't even take them. Like, come on. You're right, it was really poorly directed. I hated the whole action scene. Me and Tuller talked about it for like an hour how bad it was, especially the ending with the whole guitar scene. Like, how does fucking the brother there sneak around all the vampires into that pond and up onto the bat. He smashes the villain in the face with the guitar. How does he get around everybody? Like they're all watching them in the pond, and then Michael B. Jordan comes around all of them without being seen. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It is.
I also love that in that scene the vampire stands in the sunlight for like 2 minutes and he's just utterly burnt down to his fucking organs, and then like in the like introductory scene he somehow reaches a farmhouse that's surrounded by nothing but like flat land and crops, and he somehow didn't get burnt to a crisp by the time he reaches the farmhouse. He's just got a few burns on him. It's like
Yeah. Or where did that
what
sun come from? It was the middle of the night when they were fighting in the pond, and then all of a sudden the sun just like pops up in the middle of the sky. Like you would definitely know dawn is coming. Yeah, like, you would be able
Yeah,
to
I
see
know.
it.
Yeah, yeah, it's got a lot of contrivances in it. Let's just say that.
Yeah, as far as
I have this last like thing to get off my chest about this film because Toller and I did this podcast a while ago about it, and we got a lot of feedback in the comment section. I don't know if you've been checking it, Toller, but yeah, we got a lot of range of comments. A lot of people said that we had valid complaints. A few other people accused us of racial insensitivity because I started talking about how the KKK in the film was really stupid. And I think I just want to establish this here because I don't, no one's going to be listening from our last podcast, but I just want to say it that the KKK in this film are so badly written because their whole plan is to sell Michael B. Jordan this, shindig so that they can get them all into one place and then kill them all, right? Like that's the whole plot. They're going to like get all these black people together and then they're going to come in and slaughter them. So why do they wait till like midday the next day to show up and kill these black people? When Michael B. Jordan has this fight at the end, it's like broad daylight out. Why wouldn't they have shown up at night when the big party's happening? Like nobody's there. It's so clear that the bar is empty at that point. They're like, let's go get them, guys.
Yeah,
like,
that
there's no
entire
music playing.
plot point, that entire plot point is just so weird. So these brothers come all the way back down to their, plantation village home,
yeah, they're
where
from
they know they
Chicago, by
don't
the
have
way.
real, yeah, they know they don't have they don't have like real like dollars and stuff to spend, and they know that, but they make this, Duke house there, and then they're somehow surprised that they're not making any actual money when really they should already know they're not going to make money because they've done it next to a fucking plantation village. And then it turns out, no, actually, that wasn't the thing. They were just going to get everyone there to lure the KKK in to kill them or something. Like, yeah, the KKK aspect just kind of comes out of nowhere at the end. It's, I don't know. Like I say, wasn't this wasn't the praiseworthy film that people were making it out to be.
Oh, man. Well, like talk about the money situation. So like they're not making any money, right? And they complain about that. And then the vampires show up and it's like these three hillbillies and their whole story is that they're just wandering around singing music for money, right? And so then they talk themselves into getting these three white people to come in and play and give them money or something. Like that was it was like such a weird contrived idea where they're like, we need money really badly. These three homeless wandering singers will have some money.
Well, everything you
It
guys
was
are
just-
saying, it makes a lot of sense. But I'm gonna dumb down my complaints. Pretty simple, actually. I'm indigenous. I look white, but my family is very steeped in Chata, history and our origins. And the thing that pissed me off, you guys are right, all of it's contrived, but I started pissed off about 20 minutes into the fucking film because we get introduced to these indigenous vampire hunters at this house where the vampire lord or whatever runs off to, and they're like, oh hey, there's indigenous vampire hunters. We're gonna put them in the movie for exactly 1 minute and 37 seconds, and then you're never gonna fucking hear from them ever again. What
Yeah.
what happened with that? Would have been so cool. Like, how come they didn't show up at the end of the film or something? Like, these are pretty shitty vampire hunters. If there's a whole horde of vampires out there, beside this barn, and like, really, it made no sense to me to introduce an element like that, especially from a representation standpoint, and then just do nothing with it. Nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they could have definitely like roped these ideas in together really well. Like had okay, so you established that the clan's in the movie and that they're coming to kill the black people. So they show up and then the vampires kill them first, and then they have this like small, like army of vampires that are there to kill the black people, and then you could have this racial tension, but they're vampires now, so they don't see themselves as racial anymore, and that would be kind of more emphasized. And then maybe you could have the fucking Native Americans coming in to kill the KKK and the vampires together because now they're what I mean. Like you could have definitely brought these ideas into one circle instead of just having these offshoots where you have this ending that's like tacked on, or the weird addition of the Native Americans that goes nowhere. It was a very messy film.
Yeah, I kind of didn't have my hopes up when in the first 5 minutes it's going, oh, you've got all these really powerful and spiritual people, like people in Asia and people in Africa and the Native American tribes of the North Americans. But not those fucking white people though. Those crackers don't have any spirituality. They're not in tune to contact their ancestors and shit. It's like, oh, thanks. Don't know why we were excluded, but yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird film. It's a very conceptual film, and it's like that 5 minute music montage scene, cannot save it. It's a good scene. It's really well shot and choreographed, but it's doesn't really help the rest of the plot, unfortunately.
It's all show, no tell. I think it's very surface layer. It's pretty. The
Yeah.
music's good, and this might be the most controversial thing to say, but Rocky Road to Dublin was definitely the best song in that movie.
Oh, it's good. Oh, it was good.
I know that's the white evil guy song, but hey, that was a fucking bop, man.
I don't know. I mean, Ryan Coogler, he just fucking throws shit into his films, whether it makes sense or not. Like the fucking who are the water people in the second Black Panther film? You got Namor and his fucking octopus people or
The
whatever,
Atlanteans?
and they they somehow from the ocean get whales into the center of Africa to fucking launch fights against the Wakandans, and it's like, come on. Like, really? These fucking humpback whales just swam 300 miles into the center of Africa, really?
Well, even the scene, the
Yeah.
music
Oh,
scene
man.
there in Sinners, where it's like, because like I said, I'm from the southern U.S., so blues and is a very big part of our culture down there. And but seeing that whole music scene happen, and you see some blues artists in there, and then you see like someone looks kind of like Jimi Hendrix, and you're like, okay, I can get behind that. And then you see you're kind of like old school like Run DMC type rapper in there, and then you see some tribalist, and then over in the corner. I started laughing right in the middle of the theater. Over in the corner, you've got some woman twerking. And it's like, why the fuck is that in there? Like,
that's art. That's goddamn art.
like,
That's what that
the
is.
fuck?
I mean, I think the sexual overtones in that movie were so off with the rest of the film. It was so aggressive and in your face at such random times. Like it's now I think it's kind of a meme now with the chick from Arcane there, where she talks to Michael B. Jordan about their past sex life, and it's like so aggressive. It just did not meet the tone of the film for me at all. And then there's like the sex scenes throughout the film that are very aggressive, and the drool scene was fucking weird as shit. Like,
Yeah, fucking tell me about it.
Like, he's into it though. I love that he was like, "Yeah, give me more of that." It's like, bro.
Yeah, he took some wild fucking swings.
Yeah. I mean that. Well, I don't think that the next, if they do a sequel, which they likely will because it made a lot of money, I think a lot of that film, its popularity, regardless if we like it or not, relied on Ryan Coogler's, style. And I think they would have to pick a pretty particular director to meet that style that he made in the first movie, and I just don't think that could be recreated with anyone else. Like the music and everything, and obviously the black culture that's really a driving force behind the film's story. Like, I even though we might not have loved the film, like what people did like about it, I don't think could be recreated if Ryan Coogler doesn't do it. So
Yeah.
I think going back to what Loomer said, I don't think a sequel would do very well.
It depends, like, too, like the tone. You mentioned that, werewolves, which we know that Robert Eggers, the guy behind Nosferatu, is helming a werewolf film here the next couple of years. But
Oh, is he?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. But
Oh, fuck yeah, that's sick.
as far as werewolves within the Sinners universe, that's going to be tough because we saw how they treated white people in Sinners, and werewolves are exclusively European. They're European in origin, so that would be I I could see them maybe coming back stateside and doing something from an indigenous standpoint.
You clearly haven't watched Twilight, okay? Because
You could do something with
that's my
skinwalkers.
werewolf there.
You could do something with skinwalkers
Oh
and
yeah.
wolves, from the American side of things. But I don't know how they do it. There's no way werewolves are European, so I don't know how they would incorporate that. I don't know. As far as a director, um, I like him more as a writer, but I think he deserves another shot in the director's chair to do a werewolf film. Is Lee Wanell? He was the guy that was behind Wolfman, and Blumhouse did his Blumhouse thing, and that film wasn't that great. But I like Lee Wanell, and I like his visionary style, so I can see him picking up and maybe doing a sequel to Sinners.
Fair. I could see Jordan Peele doing something like that.
Oh, please no, please,
Yeah,
God,
please.
no.
Yeah, let's not.
I don't. I'm not saying he's the right choice, but like if I was the industry, mogul behind this film, and I wanted to, pump as much cash at it as possible, and you want to get like a black director, obviously, because it's a Sinner sequel, and someone who's worked in horror before, I think Jordan Peele's probably the most obvious choice.
Oh, it just makes my head hurt thinking about it. I like Jordan Peele. I'm a horror fan. I like what he's done, but he has a very clear direction with the films that he does, and I just can't. I can't do it again. I can't do another, especially if it's werewolves. Like I said, you can't put a black director in charge of a werewolf film because it's gonna take
Well,
place
that's
in
just
Europe.
a guess. We don't know. We don't know what the sequel would be. I mean, they could do like something like a Wendigo, maybe. That'd be cool.
That's what said indigenous, but let me hang on. Let me make a little funny, little funny side comment here. So, Loomar, what was really funny to me was when Infinite and I originally had our conversation about Sinners. Did you know this fucking asshole didn't stay till the credits, and he missed the entire like that whole bar scene and how they ended the film?
All right.
He had no idea that happened.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I can totally get how people would see the credits and start leaving. To me, the thing that tipped me off is like, I don't know, they start making the credits on this like grown-up version of him, and I don't think they would have like hired like they got like quite a famous, I forget the name, but I think they got like a famous blues player to play the older version. And I remember seeing him at some point. I was like, they got that dude to play him. That seems like a pretty significant reason to get him. And then I just sat there for a little bit extra, and obviously you get the actual ending after the start of the credits. But yeah, I mean, I've heard plenty of people who just walked out thinking that was it. And let's be honest, it probably should have been it because, Stack, actually being sentient and working against his vampire master doesn't really make any fucking sense. But yeah, it's
yeah. I mean, also, like, why would you wait? Okay, so I have seen the scene now, Tolder. It makes up for it. I watched it kind of recently, actually. But it didn't really heal the film because, like, they're like, well, do you want to live forever? And he's like 80 years old. No, you wouldn't.
It's Buddy Guy, by the way.
Pain for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's Buddy Guy, by the way. It's the name of the actual blues musician.
That's it.
Yeah. I just thought
they wait till the end of his life to be like, oh, hey, let's I'll give you this offer now. Like, dude, meet up when you're 30 or 20, 20, I don't know, in your late 20s maybe, and be like, hey, I'll let you live forever. And then I would be like, oh, maybe.
Well,
but,
he
like,
can't
to
because
80.
he promised, when he was under the hive mind and he couldn't think for himself or do anything for himself, he made his own independent deal with his twin brother to not do that, even though he shouldn't be able to do that because he shouldn't have his own personality. But that makes total sense,
It
I
cracked
don't
me up.
like world building.
We were sitting there having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, you know how the film ended. You know, Stack comes back in, he's talking, he's there with Haley Steinfeld, and there's Buddy Guy is the old version of Michael Catton's character. And Offended's like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, hold up, wait, you didn't wait, you didn't stay, like.
No. Well, I mean, I did not want to spend an extra set. Dude, I'll be honest, I was laughing so fucking hard at the ending that, like, I left primarily because I was killing the vibe. People were, like, kind of whispering to each other, and I could tell there was this, like, everyone liked it, but I was, like, couldn't hold it together. I thought the ending was so ridiculous, over the top, dumb, and I was just, like, laughing on my way out. And also, I went with my old man, and he fucking hated it. So he was like getting out of there as soon as he could as well. But yeah, no, it was not worth sticking around for, in my opinion.
I say I didn't mind the ending. In case you don't know anything about my channel, Loomar, I am very much a Tarantino enthusiast. It's integrated into all of my videos, my ratings, my style choices, all of that. And so the ending, is stupid as it was from a story perspective, it had Tarantino all over it. There was just blood, gore, and bullets flying everywhere, people just dying in ridiculous fashions.
Yeah. I mean, totally.
There.
As a scene, like as something like if you just took this scene out and there was no context to it, I think that's a fucking solid looking fight scene. Totally agree with you. It's just having it connected at the end of the rest of the film. It's like, where the fuck did this come from? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one question for you, Lumar. Lumar, sorry. No, I didn't bring this up to you till I totally forgot about it, but I wanted to ask you, with Gen V season 2 is coming out, and I know you've covered The Boys extensively, and I've talked to death about The Boys. How do you feel about Gen V 2 coming out?
Well, Gen V season 1, I thought was pretty fine. It it
Mm-hmm.
like it was nowhere near as good as the first season of The Boys, but I think in terms of like what the story was and what the world building was, I don't think it was as bad as the rest of The Boys. I thought it was a decent show, a decent season. Um, I don't know. I just don't know how, because obviously now everything is kind of building up towards season 5, The Boys, and we've had characters from Gen V cross over into season 4, and I wonder, bringing all these plot points into Gen V season 2. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as bad. I think it's probably going to reach the lows that it's either going to. It's either I don't know if it'll be as disastrous as The Boys season 4, but I think it's still going to be pretty low. And I think another unfortunate thing that's going to bring it down is I don't know what it is, but it seems like in modern kind of media, people are afraid to recast people. And unfortunately, I'm trying to think of the cast. Hold on, let me just double check who was in it. So, one of the main characters in it, um, the Andre Anderson, I think is that his name. No,
Yeah,
sorry.
the Black Magneto, he died, right?
Yeah, sorry. So the character is Andre Anderson. The actor is Chance Perdomo, and yeah, he unfortunately passed away after season 1 had finished. And I totally get about being respectful to to the actors and making sure that people know that they're missed. However, I just don't really understand why people, especially when it's main characters, like characters that are very important to the narrative, why they have to take them out because of an actor's passing. 20 years ago, people would just get recast, and as unfortunate as it is, that's just what's needed for the story to kind of flow. speaking of, we've just been speaking about Ryan Coogler, Black Panther 2. As unfortunate as it is that Chadwick Boseman died, they should have just kept T'Challa and recast, because I liked the character. I didn't really care about the sister, and now you've just killed that character off and thrusted the sister onto the big screen in front of us. And I still don't care about her, and she's still just more annoying. And so the film's just been brought down. And so yeah, unfortunately, that character won't be appearing in this season. Probably will never get like a proper appearance in any of the other boys' stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I think Eric Kripke is just trying to draw this series to an end, so it's going to be rushed. And yeah, I'm not looking forward. I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, it's definitely, I think, going downhill for all the reasons you said. I don't know how I feel about recasting versus moving on from the character. That's an interesting, I kind of debate, I guess, because on one hand, I definitely see where you're coming from. Stories, like, that needs to be what's served, I think, at the most, right? You can't just shut down a whole plot line because somebody passed away. Unfortunately, I understand that sentiment, but I really hate recasting as well. It's like kind of such a shit situation. Like, I hated it. It still bothers me kind of going back and watching like the original Iron Man with the original Brody in it, and then switching to Don Cheadle after. It's just like such a different vibe. I don't know. It always bothers me. But yeah, I think you're right though, that you need to make the story the primary focus, and I think it's probably a setup for some big failures in the future if you're just gonna throw away entire franchises because or change them to be so unrecognizable because you're unwilling to replace the actor, like with Black Panther, for example.
Yeah, I feel like I'm out of my element here because I haven't seen Boys season 4 or Gen V. I saw season 3 and I started seeing the show start turning into the very thing season 1 of the same show was making fun of. So I was like,
yeah,
so which like
yeah.
I'm very actress centric. I like Carl Urban. I like Anthony Starr. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in season 4. I don't know. I don't say I got burnt out on it, but the differences between season 1, where they just didn't pull their punches and they made fun of pretty much everybody, and it hit all aspects of the political spectrum, and then in season 3 it started shifting. Obviously, just like fucking everything else in entertainment, started shifting towards the left side of things and making some references toward the right side of the aisle and their the political ideology. I don't know. Is season 4 worth a watch? Like, is that something I need to catch up on?
No, it's not. Oh god, no.
Okay.
Season 4
I
is
mean, if you
horrible.
get drunk and just kind of laugh at everything, yeah, probably is. But no, in terms of like serious storytelling, they just do not care anymore. It's yeah, if you're not invested in this kind of world, and you don't really you're not really fussed about what happens to it, just don't bother watching it. Just
Okay.
maybe just read up on
Yeah, but say I've read all the comics. I'm a big comic guy. I mean, The Walking Dead. I've read through all the compendiums. The Witcher books. I'm a big nerd when it comes down to that. So I just didn't know how much they deviated from what they did. In the graphic novel / comics, I guess. But yeah, like I said, the end of season 3, I was like, no, you're becoming the thing you were making fun of before. And just when season 4 hit, I was like, just.
Yeah, season 4, in my opinion, is like one of the. It's definitely such a downgrade. I mean, season like I watched your review of season 2 recently, Loomar, but it was really good. Season 2 was horrible. I remember it being really bad, and then season 3, I don't think season 3 was worse. The saving grace to me was Soldier Boy. He is such a great character. I love Soldier Boy.
Love
everyone's like, it went down a bit in season 2, but season 3, that brought it back up, and it's like, no, it didn't. It's still just as shit as season 2, but fucking Jensen Ackles is in it, and he fucking acts his ass off and steals the spotlight, so you don't notice all the fucking terrible shit that's in it. It's
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
yeah,
He
it's
did. I don't think they intentionally made him so good. I think that just was a product of Jensen Ackles acting,
Yep, great actor.
and
oh
apparently
totally.
he apparently behind the scenes did a lot of work with the character and made him as great as he was. Like he actually pushed up against Sarah Kripke a lot, or at least a decent amount on what they were willing to do with the character. Because Kripke, of course, wanted to ruin him with some weird sex thing, and Soldier Boy ended up being kind of saved with that because of Jensen Ackles. But I think they'll probably ruin him in season 5 because he's coming back. But yeah, I think he might be the greatest thing that the boys has done since season 1. He's such a good character. I love him.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of pushing back against like Eric Kripke's direction for where he wants to take stuff, I think that's just why he's just not really a great showrunner because it seems like he just kind of leans to where he thinks people want him to go, even if that's not where he like wanted the direction to go, which ends up making like some of the characters and storylines even dumber. Because a good example that I used, and obviously the Soldier Boy, and another good example is Lamplighter from season 2,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh my god.
he's written, you know, like uh, most of the scenes you see him, he's fucking conducting experiments on people and then killing them. He mocks people. He just sits around watching cuckold porn, and then he fucking kills himself because he thinks he's a failure and he's never gonna make his dad proud. And then it's like from from what I heard, Sean Ashmore, who plays him, he didn't like do it as it was written. He tried to make him more of a somber, more of a emotional kind of character, and because of that, you've got scenes where he's less harsh and like he seems earnestly wanting to do the right thing and testify against Four to make up for his crimes. So, who is this character? Is he an asshole who only cares about himself and his own image and kills himself out of self-loathing, or is he an actual remorseful dude who wants to do the right thing? You know, and then Soldier Boy. It's like on the one hand, uh, you know, we're supposed to view him as this abusive, fucking disgusting figure who is a racist who MM wants to kill. And then on the other hand, it's like he's really chill most of the time, and he comes off as
Yeah.
deeply apologetic when it turns out he's hurt people. And I know it's played for a joke, but he talks about how he was you know, good friends with Bill Cosby and they used to chill out together all the time. Which, if you're gonna try and make someone a racist against black people, maybe he's like, don't have a line where he says he used to hang out with Bill Cosby all the time and he looked up to him as a person. Like, yeah, you've made a
Yeah.
joke.
Oh my
You've
god.
made a joke out of the meta knowledge that, you know, he's a fucking horrible person. And Soldier Boy doesn't know. But when it comes to like solidifying Soldier Boy's character, that's something he genuinely believes. And so, like, does he want to fucking like, you know, does he disregard Black lives or does he treat everyone like the same? It's really weird.
I definitely, yeah, you make actually such a good point there because I did not get a racist vibe from him even in the slightest, as I recall, right? Like this is a while ago I watched it, but
Yeah, yeah.
it would really like. There's nothing more cringy to me in this show than MM's like racial subplots, and and when he like calls Soldier Boy a racist in the finale, it just comes out of nowhere and it feels so tacked on. And like you said, there's just no evidence for it. He's like buddies with Bill Cosby. He's never said anything. Like I don't remember him saying anything racial. Like again, you know what I mean? Like there's no like he didn't like hate Black Noir because he was a black guy. He never said like I didn't like Noir because he was black. Ugh. Like he just didn't like Noir because Noir was trying to steal his spotlight. It seems like he just kind of doesn't give a shit about anybody like most of the time. I don't think there's like a type of person he doesn't like. I think he just doesn't like anybody.
Yeah, it's
um,
that just becomes the go-to thing though in the later seasons. Oh, if you didn't hate this character enough, they're also a racist. You know? It's
yeah,
like
well, yeah, you pointed
Homelander,
that out. Yeah,
Homelander in
yeah,
season 2, very visibly like disturbed by Stormfront going on a Nazi rhetoric and talking about how white people need to exterminate the other races. Like every time that comes up, he's very visibly like confused, and you can see he doesn't like agree with that. And then season 4 comes along, and Sister Sage is like, "You wouldn't have me on the Seven because you're a fucking racist." And Homelander's like, "Yep." And it's like, what? Where the fuck did that come from?
Well,
You
I mean,
know,
it's
yeah.
Tech Knight, he's fucking like some sort of sadistic torturer who's got, like who sexually fucking fucks people to death or some shit like that. But not only does he want concentration camp for regular humans, but he's also a racist, and that means you've got to hate him even
Yeah.
more. It's like, come on, there's so many avenues to make people like evil. You don't have to keep sticking like racist on them, Have a bit of variety, Jesus.
well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it
for
comes
sure.
down to just paying attention to the source material. You were talking about Lamplighter, and which I haven't seen season 4, but I know who Lamplighter is as a character in the show, and who he is, in the comics. And it was actually like vice, it's the exact opposite. Like you were talking about how he committed suicide over his remorse, and I guess he was jerking off to whatever he's jerking off to. And in the comics, he was actually a lot more gruesome. He didn't have any
Yeah.
remorse. He was actually zombified in the comics, and didn't really have those kinds of feelings. And it's just, you're right, that's what it boils down to. It's, you have all of these, and this goes for everything. This goes for The Last of Us. This goes with The Witcher. This goes with all the MCU crap and the DCU crap. You have all this pre-established material with a pre-established fan base. Just put it on a screen. Like, hey, well, what we're thinking about doing? No, if it's not in the, don't, you're not doing shit. If it's not in the comics, don't fucking do it. And I know that may sound unoriginal, or maybe some people that don't want that one for one, but we're the curtain time in Hollywood where they make their own writing choices, and it just comes off as stupid, like racist rhetoric, or it. I don't know. This kind of stuff, the defendant will tell you, when it comes down to source material, I'm a big nerd. I hate when they deviate and inject modern day sensibilities into material that never had that, because it comes across as very jarring.
Well, I think with The Boys, it's like it was always like a political commentary show, and I think season 1 really did it well, and like you said before, Toller, where they walked the line a lot more, and there was just kind of some generalities they threw out there. But as every season has gone on, the politics have become, well, not only more in your face, but more dumbed down. And I know you haven't seen season 4, but like there's a whole abortion subplot that just kind of happens in the background, and they just treat it horribly as like this thing that is this. I don't know. It's so weird. So Starlight has an abortion, and regardless of your opinions on that political subject, which is super divisive to put in a TV show, um, they just kind of throw it in there. Like it's just kind of like a few sentences, and they don't really pay much attention to it unless they want to victimize Annie again. And then they make Homelander racist, and then of course Sister Sage is the new genius character in the show who knows everything because she's like an omnipotent god and can know things that she would never actually know, and she's like she's masterminding everything, and the her literal backstory, and I love this because it's so honestly retarded. Um, Her backstory is that she's a super smart person, so smart as a child that she cured cancer because her grandmother was dying of cancer, so she wanted to make a cure for her. And racist white scientists just told her that she was wrong, and so they wouldn't administer the cure to her grandmother, and so she horribly died of cancer. And then like Sister Sage just gave up on humanity afterwards. So I mean, besides the obvious how dumb that is, I like if you make a cure to cancer, I don't care who you are, people are going to take it. But also, B, if she's the smartest person in the world and made a cure for cancer, how could she just not administer it to her own grandmother? Why did she need the evil white doctor to do it?
Well,
Yeah.
the thing about the boys, and you were talking about, the racism thing. Both you, Lumar, and both, and as someone who's a comic reader, looking specifically at the character of Homelander, right? And I think they did him great in season 1, 2, and even in 3, right? It Modern day Hollywood gets classism mixed up with racism way too fucking much, because in the earlier seasons of the boys, Homelander, he didn't give a damn about race, ethnicity, culture, none of that. He just knew that he was better than everybody else because of his strength level, because of him being the poster boy for the Seven. And that's how he looked down on people. It was classism. He thought he was better than everyone else because of his wealth, his powers, etc., etc. It had nothing to do with culture or ethnicity or race. And then now we're talking about, I guess you guys are saying in season 4, they swap that up and it's more about him being a racist, which is literally, I mean, literally the polar opposite of what happens in the comics. He hates everyone who's below him, regardless of race. So making the character seem that he hates black people or hates Spanish foot, whatever the hell. That I'm never going to watch season 4 if that's the case, because I love Homelander as a character. I think Anthony Starr is fantastic as him, picture perfect from the comic to the screen. But that just seems like a horrible decharacterization.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I don't.
he's literally he's a
Go ahead.
soup supremacist. He's a soup supremacist, not a
Correct.
white supremacist. And
Yep.
then just season 4, a character goes, "You're actually racist," and he's like, "Yep." And then he doesn't do anything racist whatsoever throughout pretty much any part of the show, and that's just part of his character now for some reason. It's
Oh
bizarre.
God.
Well, I don't. I think it's strange because again, like Soldier Boy, Homelander never exudes any racist qualities. He never has any slurs or looks down on black people, and he even like uses Sister Sage, a black woman, as his like right hand. So she just kind of says this to him without any like foundation. And I mean, her power. I don't know. It's I could go in on Sister Sage for a while. I mean, I think me and you both, Loomer, have made like quite long videos about her as a character, but she's just the worst
She has the
character,
script.
probably.
That's it.
She has
She has the script, and she just knows
Yeah.
what's going to happen, and then she just goes, "All that stuff, yeah, that's me." And that's people just fucking love that. Apparently, I don't know why, but
Yeah.
you criticize
I
that, you
remember
get
my
fucking
biggest like
crucified.
yeah, literally the biggest defense of that character is that she's so smart, she just know. And it's like, how does she know the things that she would not know ever? Like, I know that you're like, it's also super inconsistent because like things that she plans fail and then like get blow up in her face. Like she plans on killing Frenchie. I think it was Frenchie, Mother's Milk, and Kamiko, and like she's got them like dead to rights with a bunch of guys, and then they escape and fuck up her whole thing. But it just never gets brought up. Like, was she planning on them escaping? And if she did plan on them escaping, then why did she set them up in the first place? Why not just let them go? Like, you know what I mean? There's so many things like that in the show.
Well, I think the stupidest part is I can't remember the character's name, but they've got like the Alex Jones kind of character who just spouts like Vought propaganda to people, and they're trying to find who's the mole in Vought giving people out, and Ashley ends up framing him, and yeah, so all the soups like kill him off, thinking that he's the traitor because they find evidence on him, and then Sister Sage is like, "Oh, I just I knew it was A-Train this whole time," and it's like, so you knew it wasn't the dude who's like a really important aspect of Vought and their ability to broadcast their messages to the masses, and you had him fucking killed for no reason instead of just taking Homelander aside and going, "Listen, I'm playing A-Train here. Just play along, and we'll fucking get him and anyone who's trying to take you down." No, they don't do that. She just fucking lets one of
No.
Vaught's most important assets be killed for no reason whatsoever.
Well, allow me to interject real
Well, I
quick
think
before you guys continue. So, because you're talking about, I haven't seen season 4, and you're talking about this character, Sister Sage, and of course, I've read the comics, the graphic novels, and that's why I've been silent while you've been talking about this character, because I'm like, who the fuck are they talking about? Sister Sage does not exist in the comics at all. She is not a character
Yeah,
in
I
any
don't
of the graphic
remember.
novels.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing.
Yeah,
her.
she was
Yeah.
made specifically for the show. So the fact that you guys are talking about how horrible her character and the writing surrounding her is makes a lot of sense. So I just want to let the listeners know. Sister Stage, not a thing in the comics. Go ahead.
No, you're right. Eric Kripke bragged quite a bit about her being like his creation, and they literally said that they wanted to do like a reverse on like the intellectual stereotype, like a reverse on the Charles Xavier, essentially, by making like a instead of this like rich and wealthy bald white guy, they made it like a poor disenfranchised black chick from Detroit who's like super smart. And but, they just never really explain her powers besides that she's really intelligent. And oh, what was I gonna? Oh, so I think that we should probably move on from the boys because I feel bad for you. Totally haven't seen it, but I think something like across the board, not just in season 4, is a problem. Is the inconsistencies with the power set of these characters are just all over the place. They're just it doesn't. There's no foundation for them anymore. They can do things and then they can't do things. And for example, in the Gen V show, there's I can't remember her character's name. There's this blonde chick, and her literal power is that if she touches you, she and like commands you to do something, you're like
Kate.
brainwashed. You have to do it. Right, yeah. And so she appears in The Boys season 4, and she's like under Homelander's control. He tells her what to do. So many problems could be solved in the show or in your life in general if you had somebody at your disposal who could literally brainwash people by touching them. Like that is such a fucking overpowered thing. Like how would you beat her?
Well, that's another point. Like you have this character who, if she touches someone, they can get them to do anything. They can get them to perform actions. They can get them to reveal. They can get them to like forget memories and stuff. And most importantly, they can get them to tell the truth. And in that
Which
moment,
character is this again?
She's called Kate. She's I can't remember her last name. She's one of the students in Gen V season 1. Her powers are she touches you and she can make you like do anything basically. And she appears in The Boys season 4. And yeah, one of the things she can do with her powers is get people to reveal information. So in this room, they've got the fucking Alex Jones guy. She could have just touched him and say, "Are you actually the traitor?" And he would have said no because he's not. But they don't do that. They just forget that that's her power, so they all beat him to death. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
again, these horribly written characters. Again, just interjecting. Sorry, I don't know much what you guys are talking about, but yeah, there's a reason why I don't know the name Kate either. She's also not in the comics. She was created and written specifically for the show. So there's that.
Yeah, well, the Gen V show at like the entirety of it is just made up by Kripke and his crew there. We can move on from this discussion because like we really hammered it home. But I think The Boys is just one of those like it could have been great, and season 1 is honestly one of I think the best seasons of like a lot like television at broad. Like it's such an entertaining show.
Oh, so
The
good.
characters are really good. Yeah, Homelander was a great villain. It's funny. It's got like a great story, but they just did not know what to do with it after. I think they just totally dropped the ball further and further every season. And yeah, I think one of the best things that came out of the show after season 1 is Soldier Boy. But besides that, I don't think I could say a positive thing about it.
Oof. What, anything else you want to add, Lumar?
No, I mean I think we've talked about how dumb it is, so I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said, really.
Well, that brings us to our last topic because we've been going at this for almost 2 hours, guys. Gee, Generation Offended, who the fuck could have seen this coming? It's not like this has happened every time we've talked. The thing I want to end on a good note here. We won't go on for too long about it. But we've been talking about a bunch of things that are subjectively good. You know, is Fantastic Four going to be good or is it going to be bad? Superman, good or bad? The Boys, you know, still subjective, but still mostly bad. There is one that here at the end of this, we're going to talk about something that is objectively good, and I'll make that argument. And it's a film that just turned 50 years old today, and that is Jaws. Man, 50 years since that bad boy came out. I'm assuming everyone here has seen it, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
God,
of course.
they just don't make
one of the
that
classics.
They don't make it like that anymore. Holy crap.
Yeah, that yeah, they definitely don't. Steven Spielberg hasn't made like a film of that caliber in a long time, which is too bad. But yeah, great film. what's your you've just did a video on it, Toller. So what's your biggest like takeaway after you researched it a ton, learned about a lot of the behind the scenes stuff? Like, what have you appreciated about the film more now that you know more about it?
Well, if you'd asked me before I did all my background and my research, like, do you think Jaws is a good film? I said, yeah, it's one of the great. All film is subjective, but I think if you're going to talk about an objectively good movie, you could throw Jaws into that conversation. I think it's got a little bit of everything for everyone and perfectly crafted. But the thing is that it almost didn't fucking happen altogether. Like, it was there, that production was just an absolute nightmare, and I think after doing that video and figuring out everything that they went through, it makes the film that much better. I mean, they went through two different directors before getting to Spielberg. They wrote the script. Peter Benchley, which is the guy that wrote the original novel, he did 3 drafts of it, fucked it up. They did Howard Sackler, he fucked it up, and they finally got to Carl Gottlieb, who was a comedian, who finally got it right on the 5th iteration of the script. And it took so long to do that they were still writing scenes the night before the scenes were shot. And just to see how Steven Spielberg took all of that and somehow made it work out for him. Like, just for instance, I don't want to go on for too long here. For instance, you have the Richard Dreyfuss and you have Robert Shaw, who play Hooper and Quint respectively, right? And in the film, those characters hate one another. You can tell there's a constant rivalry going on between them in the actual film. In real life, they actually hated one another because Richard Dreyfuss had a little bit of success with the film that he had just done. I can't remember what it was called. Something of Duddy Kirk, The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kirk, I believe it was. And he was constantly rubbing at people's faces how well the film was going. And Robert Shaw hated him so much that he was constantly bullying and belittling him to the point that, like, Steven Spielberg was having to cut takes because Shaw would just go off in weird directions, just start talking shit about about Dreyfuss as a person while the camera was rolling. And it's just, I know it's a little different based on the conversation that we've been having about superheroes and all that, but I just thought it was noteworthy. They just don't make films like Jaws anymore. They just don't.
Yeah, like actually like getting a massive shark animatronic and going into the ocean and filming. Like, most people just use a fucking green screen these days. So yeah, it's you can tell that Jaws is just a film that's had a lot of love and passion poured into it, even during the hardships it took to get it made. And yeah, I mean it there's a reason it's a classic, and yeah, it's just a fucking terrific film.
Yeah, you brought up the
Well, I think
animatronic. Go ahead, Offended.
Oh, sorry. Well, you were talking about like how the real life grief between the actors kind of propelled them into this like natural dynamic they had in the film. I think another film that benefited from that kind of experience was The Shining.
Yep.
Where you had Shelley Duvall and Stanley Kubrick apparently did not get along very well, and he really apparently pushed her during behind the scenes, like making her do a ton of takes. It depends on who you like hear from. Stanley Kubrick says that people are being a little dramatic about how hard he pushed her. She said it was awful. Jack Nicholson, I think, said she was the hardest working actress in Hollywood for that film. So, but it really added to the role. Like, Shelley Duvall really killed it in that film. Like, her reactions to Jack Torrance coming after her were fantastic, and it really added the fear to it because she was so exhausted and tired and worn out from doing 40 takes of the same scene over and over again. And it also, that film had constant rewrites going on. Like, I think Stanley Kubrick did something similar where it wasn't even the day before, but like going from scene to scene, he would change like the dialogue and stuff. And Jack Nicholson even said he stopped reading the scripts until he right before he shot the scene because there's no point, they would change so often.
Yeah, and talking about the animatronic shark, just to bring it back, just because it made me laugh while I was doing research and all this. It took me like 14 and a half hours to make this damn video just to make sure all the facts were straight. But you're talking about the shark, and those things were a pain in the ass, Loomar. Not only did the trailer carrying them capsize into the ocean, and they had to have a recovery team go and get the damn things. They had multiple frame fractures. They were just breaking apart. Hoses were busting there in the ocean, sending chemicals everywhere. The neoprene foam surrounding them made them balloon up like sponges. And then what if I told you Jaws almost made sure that we did not get any more Star Wars films? Sounds weird.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did that happen again? Can you remind me?
The cast and crew were going to do because Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were actually really good friends. George Lucas was the guy who recommended Richard Dreyfuss actually be Hooper. And so Lucas was kind of involved in the production and was kind of hanging out. You know, him and Spielberg are actual in real life personal friends. And they pulled a practical joke on him by having him put his head inside the mouth of one of the animatronics, and it closed, nearly killing him. They had to pry the jaws apart. Oh,
right.
Yep.
Oh, man. Oh, wait, did that happen to George Lucas or?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it happened to George Lucas. Yeah, they were playing a joke on George Lucas, and he stuck his head inside one of the jaws of the animatronics, and it closed down. They had to pry the jaw open. So we about not got any more Star Wars stuff. which based on current climate, may have been a good, not his death, but not getting any more Star Wars stuff may have actually be a benefit. But yeah. Well, do you guys have anything else you want to add? Any other anything else you want to talk about? Any shots you want to take?
Well, actually, I just heard this recently. I mean, within the last year or so, people, because Dune was coming out and Dune 2 came out, and you're talking about how Star Wars might not have been made and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So apparently, Frank Herbert, the writer of Dune, actually considered suing George Lucas over copyright issues because George Lucas apparently took so much from Frank Herbert's Dune novel. And put it in Star Wars, and once you actually notice the comparisons, and they're listed out, there's quite a few of them. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there's sand crawlers, there's giant sandworms, water farms, and the villain turns out to be the secret parent of the hero. That happens to obviously Darth Vader, but that also happens with the Harkonnens and the Paul Atreides lineage as well, and there's a lot of other comparisons to be made. So that's just a little thing that I heard recently. It was a little fun fact I wasn't fully aware of, but yeah, apparently George Lucas isn't as original as everyone thought he was. Dare I say?
In terms of just other things to think about, what's everyone thinking about Ironheart?
Oh
no, we can't do this. We got to save it for another fucking day. We can't do it. We'll go on for another half hour talking about this shit. God damn it.
Fair enough. Save it for another day.
Well,
I really
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would be a whole other can of worms.
So maybe we can all get together towards the end of the month and talk about it once Ironheart actually comes out.
Sure.
I don't know if I can actually bear to watch that. I don't know the gun in my head.
It's not going to be good, but I think I'll laugh a lot at it, so that might balance it out.
Hey, they got drag queens, baby.
Do they have drag queens in this?
Yeah, they have a drag queen in the show.
Yeah, they've got one at least, I think.
Yeah, that was a big.
A legitimate drag queen.
Yes, yeah, he was. Whatever the hell the thing is. Was on one of the drag shows or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was a couple articles about it. And I'm like, why is this what we're fucking talking about?
Well, yeah, of course. Why not?
Well, to round this out and to not get into another half-hour long conversation, let's do it this way. Generation Offended, what has been your number one film this year?
Oh, this year. When did Nosferatu come out? Was that this year, or was that
last year?
Technically last year. Ah, fuck.
Try again.
This year. Okay, so actually, what I saw, I did recommend it to you. It was The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Right.
Movie is very good. That's a very good film. That's very offbeat from what we've been talking about, but you want a nice, quaint, humble comedy that's like a happy feel-good movie. That is the one. Really funny. I like English films. I like English humor. and that definitely hits all the beats. And it has a really good take on the, quirky, eccentric millionaire character. Like, that's kind of an archetype, but like they have this really humble way of telling that character's story in this film, where he's kind of a dork, really humble dude who doesn't, he's really naive. He did how he gets his money. I won't spoil it, but it's hilarious and very silly. But it's not like he's a super genius or gets it in some kind of evil means. It's like the best way to be a millionaire, essentially. Anyway, really funny. Highly recommend that movie if you guys haven't seen it.
And Loomar, what about you? Oh, so we know it's not 28 years later. We know that. But what is your favorite film this year?
Probably is. I really enjoyed The Monkey. It was nice
wow.
to. It was nice to just get some dark. Like, I love dark comedy, and it was nice to just get a bit of that, because this year, I don't know, the past few years in general, I just don't think have been very good cinema experiences. So going into there and walking out entertained, that was good enough for me. And The Monkey definitely did that.
Oh Lord, we can have a whole conversation about that, because I thought The Monkey sucked.
Oh no!
but for me to answer my own question, I would implore anyone that's listening, and obviously to both of you guys, as an Afghanistan veteran myself, warfare this year has, not only did I think it was expertly crafted and written, but I think it really hit all the emotional notes. Not only for the audience members, just casual audience members, not military, but specifically for military folks. I thought it was fantastic. And here's the thing, Loomar, I was walking in, I was talking to my girl a couple days ago, and I said, I think the only film that could unseat warfare this year is 28 years later, but that doesn't appear like that's going to be the case. So who knows? Maybe I'll love it. Who knows?
Hey, just go in with no expectations whatsoever that it's going to be as good as the previous, as the first one, and you'll be set. Yeah,
I'm just there for Ray Fiennes. That's what I'm there for.
Yeah, well, you'll love him. That's what I'll say.
Good, yeah. All right. Well, for folks that are still listening, hey, we love you a very long time. But this has been me, Toller Talks. Obviously, I'll put Generation Offended. You guys know him. Let's be honest here, but I'll put his channel in the description. And then Loomar as well, if you guys want a little more of a hard take from someone with a different accent. He's got some really good stuff. I'm working my way through his catalog. But we do appreciate everybody for listening. Like, subscribe, do all the super YouTube stuff.
Wait, before I don't want to interrupt you, but remember, Toller, we are talking about doing a Discord channel together. So I don't know if we should announce that we're doing that.
Yeah. We if you're not sick of our shit already, we're gonna do a Discord channel thing, chat something where you can come in and get even more sick of us. So there's that. I don't really know what I'm doing with that, but we'll put that.
I got blindsided.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just like, oh shit, I completely forgot about that, because I have the attention span of a number 2 pencil. So, that's all we've got for you guys. We really do appreciate everyone for listening. And do you gentlemen have anything else?
Nope, we're good.
Good to go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later.